Hey Bookish Babes, and welcome to my book nook. For those that are new around here, the name's Rainy Barton. I teach music and I also read lots of books, thriller and horror, sci-fi, fantasy, nonfiction, romance, all different types. So if you're interested in that, please like and subscribe to my channel down below. It really does help my channel grow. In today's video, I am going to be giving you summer book recommendations because summer is right around the corner, but we are going to talk about summer romance book recommendations. I originally was just going to do all different types of book recommendations and I had way too many. I'm going to break this into two different videos. Today's is going to be romance book recommendations, and then we're going to have a summer thrillers recommendations because I did actually have like thrillers that I think are better for the summertime, and since those are the two main genres I primarily read, I figured I'd break it up that way. So we'll start with the romance ones today. I have about 12 romances for you. Well, 11 are romances. 9 of them I've read. 2 of them I haven't read, but I'm going to recommend because I want to read them. And then one is not really a romance, but it doesn't fit into the thriller section. So I stuck it over here and it's a good book for the summer. And then that's what we're going to do. So let's just dive right into my summer romance recommendations. The first book I have for you, which was a 5-star and I absolutely loved it so very much, is The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Siegmund Broca. This is kind of like Beach Read by Emily Henry, which I actually haven't read yet. That's the only Emily Henry I haven't read yet. But I really, really loved this. So this is about Katrina and Nathan, and they were a writing duo together, and they had a bestseller together. But then something happened to ruin their partnership that they wouldn't speak about to the public, and so they haven't spoken since, and it's been a couple of years, but they have to get together one more time because they have one final book that's still on contract for the two of them. So they end up having to hole up together in the Keys, this little town in the Keys, which is actually where I'm from. So it was fun to read that, where they wrote their previous book, and they have to write a manuscript fairly quickly, but it's kind of awkward because there's this tension between them because of the thing that happened. And so it's like, will they end up being in a relationship or not? Are they able to get past the problem, like, of what happened that made them not be a writing duo anymore? We will have to see. But I absolutely love this one. It has all the summery romance feels. It is not very steamy, so I will say that. Like, don't go into this thinking it's going to be very steamy. But I love what the authors were able to do to make you fall in love with their romance anyway, regardless of whether the steam or not was there. I just loved the whole literary aspect of this book. It was very well done, in my opinion. So I had a great time with this. It is dual perspective. You'll have a lot of fun reading this. Up next, we have a book that kind of reminds me more of like springtime, but I do get summer vibes from it still, and honestly, you could read it year round, and I just love it so very much, and I'm currently reading the sequel as an arc, and that is The End and Then by Hannah Bird. So, I absolutely love this Loveless series. I'm currently, like I said, reading book number 2. And this is about our girl, Eden Ross, and how she basically moved away, packed up and moved away from her life and her mom and her family to like move across the country to live with her best friend Zoe, who owns a bar in the middle of nowhere in this little town called Loveless in Colorado. And you don't know for the majority of the book what she's running away from and like what has happened, but she starts to end up having a romance with one of the main guys that lives in this town named Chase. But she's having trouble having that relationship as well because of her past. And so it's just a story of like growth and like dealing and healing through trauma, but it's a really, really beautifully crafted romance. I absolutely loved it. I can't believe that this is a debut whenever I think about it because it's one of my favorite romances that I've read. I absolutely loved it. It was a 5-star for sure. I love it so very much. I also have a signed copy that she initially had written Eloise's name in it before anybody else knew, because she knew before other people. So I definitely recommend this book. It gives me spring and summer vibes. You will not regret it if you pick this one up. The next one I have just kind of gives me like nature vibes, but you know what? You could read it in the summer. It gives me the summer naturey vibes. And that is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker, which is a book that I read recently and I absolutely loved as well. 5 stars. I cannot wait to continue on with the rest of this series. But this one is about our girl Calla and her mom and her fled Alaska when they were very little. That's where they lived with her dad and her white mom's husband. And basically he was a pilot there and he was getting very caught up in being an Alaskan pilot, and she asked if there could be more to this life, and he decided, no, I'm going to stay here and be a pilot. And so they divorced and they fled out of Alaska. Now, At 26, she lives in Toronto, and she learns that she's estranged from her father, but she learns that her father is dying of cancer, and so she has to fly back to meet him. She ends up finding herself in a relationship with a grumpy sunshine pilot named Jonah, and it's like reminiscent of her and her dad. So it's like, is she going to follow in the same mistakes that her mom made? And is she going to be able to have a functioning relationship or not? And this book was beautiful. There are many, many nature references. I loved how their grumpy sunshine relationship was, and how he talked to her, and how sweet and how loving he was, and how over time their relationship just blossomed and developed. I loved the I loved the family relationships in this, like the relationship that gets healed between her and her dad. It was just beautiful to watch. I loved all of the other minute characters within this book too. Honestly, I cannot wait to continue on. And I don't know if we continue on with this couple in the next book, or if we continue on with other couples. I'm not 100% sure. But the first book was so much fun. Would recommend. Alright, the next book on this list is definitely for summer. It has the word summer in the title, and that is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I believe I gave this a 4.5 stars. The only reason I didn't give it a 5 is because there was something at the ending that I did not absolutely love. But this book, I binged so fast. I loved it. This is about a girl named Persephone, and basically she made some mistake over a decade ago with her best friend, and so they're not friends anymore with Sam. And they met initially because her family was like renting this vacation house on a lake house, and they met when they were kids, and every summer they would spend together, and they were best friends. And then of course, as they got older, every summer they ended up in a relationship, until one tragic mistake happened that like altered the course of life forever. And so it's been over a decade since they've seen each other last, but she has to return finally to the lake house because Sam's mother has died, and they're gonna have to see each other again. And then of course it brings up all these old wounds, and it's like, are we able to get past what happened over a decade ago? Are we gonna be together again? Who knows? And I really liked the flashbacks between the then and the now parts. I just had fun with the whole book as a whole. Like I said, I only gave it a 4.5 star because I think the end wrapped up way too quick, and that they got over it way too quickly for my comfort, as like, because knowing what the mistake was, like I was not okay with them just moving past it so fast. I wouldn't have moved past it so fast. But regardless of that, this was a beautiful book. It was really, really fun. I have not read her newest book, Meet Me at the Lake, which I'm sure I would recommend that as a summer recommendation too, but I haven't read that one yet. But this one was super fun. And if you like dual POV and it shifting timeline periods, then this is a book for you. And the next book series is a duology, and I can't find my first book. I don't know if I lost it. I don't know if I gave it to my mom, but I would recommend the duology as a whole, and that would be It Happened One Summer and Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. This is the Bellinger sisters duology. And so the first one follows Piper Bellinger, and she basically is like supposed to be like reflective of Schitt's Creek Alexis. And she's this rich, hoity-toity girl who ends up having to move to this fisherman town, like with her sister, to like help her father who has passed, like help fix up his bar or something like that. And she falls in love with, of course, a fisherman dude who is there. And the sequel is about her sister, who has, after that, moved back to go back to her job, which she works with like the film design industry. And she is best friends, though, with the fisherman guy's best friend, Fox, who is like this ladies' man, can never just be with one person, doesn't know how to be intimate, but they are best friends in this book. And then she has to move back for some reason, and they end up being in a relationship, or trying to be, while she's also just trying to have to teach him how to be in a relationship. So like, this one was, I liked the first one better than the second one, but some people like the second one better than the first one. I loved both of them very, very much, but they definitely give strong summer vibes. They also are extremely steamy, so, I mean, because you know Miss Tessa Bailey is, like, very smutty in her writing. But I had a great time with both of these. I love all of it. I love Hannah. I love Piper. I love our two main characters, Fox, and I am completely blanking on the dude from the first book's name, but I love all of them. So if you are looking for a fun summer duology, then this is the series for you. Another one that I have that I absolutely loved, and I'm pretty sure I gave 4.5 stars as well, is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. So this one is a little bit deeper in its topics. This is about Eva Mercy, and she's a single mom. She's a best-selling erotica writer, but she also suffers from chronic illness. She has really, really bad migraines all the time. And when she was younger, she met this guy named Shane, like when they were in high school, I believe, and they had like a week-long like encounter. Like literally it was just like a week long. But all this stuff happened within this week, and then it ended really tragically, and they never saw each other again, and they ended up not speaking again. And then they end up meeting at a literary event because they both are literary writers now. And of course, sparks are flying, but also their trauma is coming back up to the surface. And no one knows that 15 years ago they had spent 1 week just madly in love. And so over the next 7 days, it's kind of repeating itself, where they're getting to be together again, but they're also having to actually deal with the trauma that they are leaving buried under the mat. And this book was really beautiful. I thought it did a fabulous representation of what it's like to have chronic illness. I really liked the relationship between her and her daughter, although her daughter read a little too old for the age that they gave her, which was something that I couldn't always look past. But the relationship was really good. It was really steamy. I loved Shane. He is just a cute, perfect little book boyfriend. And I loved that they also talked about their books that they write within this. I thought it was really good. So I definitely would recommend this, but this one is a little bit on the deeper side. Up next, we have Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is my least favorite of Taylor Jenkins books I've read so far, but that's not really saying anything because this was a 4.5 star and everything else has been a 5 star. But this one follows Nina Riva, who is Mick Riva's daughter. Mick Riva is like this popular like singer from like the 50s and 60s. And she's having an annual end of summer party, and everybody is going because she is dating this very famous tennis player, and her talented surfer and supermodel brothers are going to be there, and her baby sister, like, because they're all famous because of their dad. But then the house ends up going on fire, and you're kind of wondering what happened. Also, it's literally just about the whole book is basically just about the party and what happens at the party and all of the drama that ensues because all of them have secrets, but then the house also goes on fire, and you're just trying to figure out, like, basically it says here, it's a story about one unforgettable night in the life of a family. The night they each have to choose what they will keep from the people who made them and what they will leave behind. And so this book was just a hodgepodge of like secrets and drama and rich people drama especially. And I really, really enjoyed it. And what also happens is that you are also switching timelines between the present day and when they were kids, or more so focusing on like the mom's story, like the relationship between the mom and Mick, because obviously Mick is like not in the picture because he's a terrible person. You might recognize him from Evelyn Hugo if you've read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And so I really liked that. I liked getting to see like how they fell in love and like their story and how they got to where they are now and like where the kids are in present day. So I had a really great time with this, but it's definitely summery. There's a lot of surf references. It's like right on the coast. So this is a good one to do. Then up next, I have literally any Emily Henry book. You could read Book Lovers. You could read Beach Read. You could read Happy Place. You could read People We Meet on Vacation. They all scream summer romance vibes. Now, like I said, I'm currently 60% of the way through Happy Place. I have not read Beach Read. I loved Book Lovers and I loved People We Meet on Vacation. But all of them within their different aspects could be different romance reads. So I'm not going to tell you what each one is about. I'm going to give you a brief one. This is about two writers that don't like each other. They end up living next to each other in beach houses, and they decide to switch genres with each other and write books to help get them out of their literary rut. So maybe that one is for you. And we have Book Lovers, about our girl Nora Stevens, who is a literary agent, and she ends up moving to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina when her sister begs her for a sister's trip away. She keeps bumping into this guy named Charlie, who is this brooding editor from back in the city that they are supposed to be enemies to lovers, but it wasn't very enemies-like. They keep getting thrown together again to work on books together, and so it's just kind of like their enemies to lovers romance. Then we have Happy Place, which follows Harriet and Wynn, who are this couple that got together in college along with their best friends, and they have been together for years. They are engaged. They finally get, something makes them break their engagement, but they haven't told their friends yet. But every summer they go on this friends trip, like to reunite with their friends, and they're doing it again because their two friends are getting married, and so they have to fake being together again for at least a week. And then we have People We Meet on Vacation, which is about Poppy and Alex, and they are best friends. They've been best friends for years. They go on vacations together every single year until 2 years ago when they ruined everything. Something happened. They haven't spoken since. And then Poppy is realizing the best times of my life was with Alex, so she asks him to go on a vacation again so that they can fix their relationship. and this takes place over the course of 10 summers. So, like I said, these are all perfect summer romance reads. It just depends on which one you're feeling in the moment. Then another one that I absolutely love, but it is not going to be everybody's cup of tea, is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emezi. And this is the first Akwaeke Emezi book that I have read, and I loved it. The reason I say that it's not for everyone is because it is an age gap romance, and if you are not about that, then you're not going to be about this. But this is about a girl named Faye, which I definitely recommend the audiobook for this. It was a great audiobook. And it's been 5 years since an accident that killed the love of her life, and so now she's like this new person. She has an artist with her own studio. She's sharing an apartment with her best friend Joy, who Joy is a hoot. I wish we could get a book for just Joy. And Joy is telling her it's time to get back into the dating scene. So she ends up getting into this steamy whirlwind romance with this guy from a rooftop party, and she ends up going with him to his house in like this tropical island, where she gets a luxury trip, decadent meals, and a major curator who wants to launch her art career. She's even started dating the perfect guy, but their relationship might be sabotaged because she keeps locking eyes with someone who's off limits, his father. And so it is an age gap romance, a taboo romance almost as well, because you're trying to get together with your boyfriend's father. I loved it. I thought this book was beautiful. The way Akwaeke Emezi writes is just beautiful. Like, it's almost poetic. And I mean, I just loved it so much. Also, the audiobook, 10 out of 10 stars. Like, if you're going to read this book, please get the audio. You will not be upset, even a little bit. Then let's get to the two books that I have not personally read, but that I want to get onto my summer romance TBR. And one is One Italian Summer by Rebecca Surley. And I have heard this one is more of like a powerful, it's like a romance a little, but it's also more just about a bond between mother and daughter on the Amalfi Coast. So it says, when Katie's mother dies, she's left reeling. Carol wasn't just Katie's mom, but her best friend and first phone call. Even Katie's husband can't seem to get through to her. She's lost without her anchor. Her mother was her true north. To make matters worse, the mother-daughter trip of a lifetime looms, going to Positano following the same route Carol did as a young woman. Katie's been waiting years for Carol to take her, and now she's faced with embarking on the adventure alone. But as soon as she steps foot on the beautiful Amalfi Coast, buoyed by the stunning cliffsides, delectable food, and charming hotel staff, Katie begins to feel her mother's spirit. And then Carol appears for real, in the flesh, healthy and suntanned, and 30 years old. Katie doesn't understand what's happening or how, but over the course of her time in Italy, Katie gets to know Carol in this new form, and soon she must reconcile the mother who knew everything with the young woman who does not have a clue. And so, I don't think this one is actually as romancy. It's a love story, like it's a romance, but I think it's more just between a mom and her daughter. But I've heard nothing but fantastic things about this book. So if you're interested in picking this up, then please do so, because I'm going to add it to my TBR for the summer. Other one that I saw is Shipped by Angie Hockman, and I've seen this a couple of years in a row and just haven't picked it up. This one says The Unhoneymooners meets the hating game. It's about a workaholic marketing manager who's forced to go on a cruise with her arch nemesis when they're up for the same promotion. And so that sounds really fun. It's a rom-com that celebrates the power of second chances and the magic of new beginnings. So that one also looks cute. I've been wanting to read it for a minute. I'm pretty sure it was recommended in my 12 for 12 this year, so I'm definitely, hopefully, gonna get to it ASAP. And the last book that I'm talking about that I said wasn't romance, but it didn't really fit anywhere else, is Sharks in the Time of Saviors by Kawai Strong Washburn. And this book, I had so much fun with this book. You need to have the audio for this book. The audio is hilarious because it follows this Hawaiian family and they are just a hoot and a holler, so you need the audiobook. But this one is an epic family saga that weaves together threads of familial and cultural legend, of human connection and loss, class and capitalism, and the meaning of home. So basically, it's about in 1995 off the coast of Hawaii, there's this kid named Nina Flores, and he falls overboard into the Pacific Ocean in shark-infested waters. And everybody assumes he's going to die, but he's delivered back to his mother in the jaws of a shark, making his story the stuff of legend. So then, his rescue, everyone is seeing as a sign of favor from the ancient Hawaiian gods. They believe that he has new abilities and that he has magic powers now. But as time passes, this divine favor with him drives the whole family apart. The Flores siblings end up scattered across the whole Hawaiian mainland. And then when supernatural events revisit the Flores household, they're all forced to reckon with the bonds of family, the meaning of heritage, and the cost of survival. I loved this book. You get to follow a bunch of different perspectives. You follow each of the siblings' perspectives. You follow Nina's perspective, of course. You follow the mom and the dad's perspectives. It was just so fun. And like I said, please get the audio. It is a beautiful, beautiful story, but it is also hilarious. Like, this author writes very hilariously. So I would definitely recommend this one. And those are all of the summer romance recommendations that I have for you. Please let me know in the comments down below if you have a different summer book recommendation or which of these that you've read that you've absolutely enjoyed. I would love to know so we can share more summer romance recs with each other. And with that, I will catch you guys in a video very, very soon. Bye!